Guys, we are back here at Antiquorum in Geneva for the May sales. I'm sitting with my good friend Julien Schaerer, the director of Antiquorum Auctioneers, and obviously, as always, Mr. Sacha Davidoff of the Davidoff Brothers. We are here for the auction in May and to celebrate Antiquorum's 50th anniversary. Congrats, guys.
Thanks.
50 years. I thought for this video to do something a little bit different. If you recall from our last time we were here, Sacha and I picked out 5 lots that each of us were bidding on, and we predicted how the lots would do. I think for this sale, we're going to pick out 10 lots we found very interesting, and we're going to guess what we think they're going to sell for.
Yes.
I see a couple that we're for sure not going to be bidding on because they're way out of our price bracket, but it'll be fun to talk about. We're going to keep a tally, see who the winner is, and the winner of this little contest will get to pick a watch from each other safe for free, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
Julian's going to pick out the watch and say that's gifted to the winner.
Fair.
And also, last time that we did this, we decided to talk about watches we were going to bid on. We ended up buying 9 out of 10.
Yeah.
So we decided not to do that anymore.
Well, without further ado, let's jump right into it. We're going to go in chronological order of the lot numbers in the catalog. Julian is going to help us as we go. So what is the first lot number? 95.
So that would be lot number 95. It's a Datejust Ovatone, and what is unique about this and what you really couldn't tell if you were just kind of glancing through the catalog from the picture you might miss is that it is one of the first Datejust Ovatones ever made. So Julian can enlighten us a bit more on the subject.
Yeah, it's a super cool story. The first 100 of the Datejust ever to be made, which is reference 4467, these were actually marketed in a newspaper, and the first 100 examples would be actually pulled out in a raffle and actually given the opportunity for the people to actually buy them. It had a very specific things. They had 2 specific things to this watch. The first one is it doesn't actually have a serial number. It only has the engraving of between 1 and 100, which is the first 100. So that's number 46. So it's the 46th Datejust ever made in terms of production. And what is super cool is when you actually won the raffle and had the right to buy it, you actually had to specify for the back to either have your initials engraved or the coat of arms, just like this one has, and this one is engraved with the family crest on the back. So you almost never see it. I've seen them 2 in my whole career at auction before, and you know it's circa 1945, so super early, and really with its cool original dial. Subscription, exactly.
This is the original subscription.
That's what it is.
That's what you had to apply to
have the right to buy it. Exactly.
Right. And I was actually talking about this with my brother, and the last time he saw one of these was in 1999.
Wow. Right. Yeah, I've never obviously owned one of these. I've never bid on one. What do we have the estimate at? Or what
10
do you guys have?
10 to 20,000 we put on it.
Wow. What?
I mean, listen, nobody knows. I mean, seems conservative.
Are we like
all in price?
All in.
All in price in US dollars. Keep it simple.
What do you mean all in price in US? The easiest would be like hammer price in Swiss francs because it's a Swiss franc auction.
No. But I'm American. We're doing all in price US dollars.
Okay.
You go first. What do you think?
$45,000.
That's the exact same number. All right, we'll do closest.
Pick a number for once.
We'll do closest without going over. So I will go 40,000. Okay.
There we go. Over under.
That, but I'm not just saying it because you said the number. That is literally the exact number I had in my head. That is a fantastic watch. I actually learned something new today. I didn't even know that the serial numbers were just 1 through 100 engraved in the middle like that. And it's a beautiful engraving too. Moving on, we have lot. I think this is the next one, 96. The very next lot. It's a lot that I personally really love. It is the reference 2508. There were 2 variations of the 2508, 2 different K styles. This is the second K style, 35 millimeters. This one in solid yellow gold. I think these watches are really underappreciated right now. 1940s, 1950s Rolex, black gilt dial, aged trop gold. It's got a nice brown color. I think this is an era of Rolex watchmaking where they were still creative.
Yes.
And there's such value in bargain where these watches were incredibly popular almost 10 years ago now, 6, 7, 8 years ago, and all these crazy chronographs were going for sky-high numbers in auction.
Yes.
Now the market has really softened up. People have moved on to other things, and I think there is such value in these watches. What do you guys have the estimate at? What do you guys know about this watch? I think it's
no
really
reserve,
lovely.
20 to 30K. For me, it's worth that money.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, the dial is beautiful. It's got like this, kind of uneven aging to it. Certain point is a little bit browner, certain points a little darker. I mean, it's a really nice example. A client bought it from us a couple of years ago and didn't find the time to wear it. Wasn't really going into his collection. Decided to re-put it up at auction. is taking a risk, willing to play the game.
Yeah, and I love gilt dials. Like, I'm a huge fanatic of gilt dials. I think it was an era of dial making that they abandoned because it was so labor intensive, but they produced, and not just Rolex, other brands as well, produced the most beautiful dials through the gilting process. Something it's like a lost art form almost. And when you find them on these early Rolex chronographs, it's something that's very, very special. Okay, I'm going to go on this one, lot 96, all in $38,000, which I think is crazy because this watch should be double that.
I will say $35,000.
I think we need to change the process a bit. I'm going to fold over the paper.
I swear to you, I was going to say 35 before you. We went. You know what? I'll write mine down.
Yeah, you will write down and then you'll tell me. Okay.
Just also, Julian mentioned earlier that it's a no reserve lot. For those of you who are unfamiliar with that, means that like you could bid $500 on this watch.
Yeah, please don't though.
Okay, please don't. But theoretically,
you could.
Theoretically, you could. It means that there's no minimum bid. The auctioneer will accept any bid, although they don't like to, and that the lot usually is in red on the catalog, and that's how you know that it's a no reserve lot in case that ever
comes up in the future.
And that said, also just to explain a little bit the process, obviously if we already have consecutive bids that are already being put in, don't be surprised if I don't start the lot at like 5,000 because I already have maybe bids at like 9, 10, 12,000, which forces me to start at the lowest bid that we have at the moment until we get extra bids. So that also explains why I don't open that kind of bid that's estimated 20 to 30K at like 2K.
Yeah, I think people forget that you can pre-bid for an auction before the auction starts, whether it's online, whether it's leaving an absentee bid. So where the bid generally starts is the highest bid that they have in their books, so you'll hear them say. Yeah, I think it's, honestly, I picked this out because I love the look of it. I think it's an era of forgotten watches right now, or overlooked at least, not forgotten completely. Yeah. I was going to pick out the 3525, which is right next, but this one just kind of spoke to me. And I think it's an era that at some point will absolutely come back in terms of collecting because they really are rare and special watches.
Yeah, I think everything mid-century kind of cooled off during COVID. Yeah. Just because it was like much harder to do that like online. Yeah. And it's a great time to buy a Longines 13 like there's a lot of these watches that are kind of like really at their lowest, like in the past like 10 years, and I mean there's no reason why it's not a good time to buy.
Yeah, I mean all this stuff's cyclical. You saw, for example, Hoyer market go sky high over the past decade, and then it crashed down after the Phillips Hoyer parade sale, and now prices are creeping back up again. It's always collecting ebb and flows. But so we'll see how this does. Let's move on to the next lot, which I have no clue because you guys organized them.
Yeah. So it would be lot 132.
So I picked out this lot. I know nothing about this watch. I saw it in the catalog, and I'm like, that looks incredible. Know nothing about it, so I need one of you guys to educate me on it. Might have to bid on it. We'll see how it goes, but please explain more.
Okay, so this is a Patek Philippe tank-shaped watch, and it is the only one known in platinum. It is also double-signed Hausmann & Co., which was a retailer in Italy based in Rome.
I know that it's an Italian.
So far, so good. Insane condition. Also, just kind of like the design with the Cartier tank, obviously seeing its day today. A tank-shaped watch from Patek Philippe from the early 20th century is something that obviously would kind of catch a lot of eyes. On the rarity, like if you're a kind of like a Patek nut. I've never seen one before in platinum. I've only seen maybe one in yellow gold before. And so it is just kind of awesome to hold this and also see the condition. Like the watch is like incredibly preserved.
What's beautiful is aside from this like super large bezel, right,
Yep.
which goes all around the watch, which gives this really like this tank étanche almost kind of look, like the Omega Marine and all those, which are
like the tank normal
heavy.
even.
Yeah, even the tank
that's
normal.
why I thought it was a Cartier for a second.
And then you see, this beautiful two-tone silver dial as well,
Yep.
which helps to its whole, Art Deco appeal. And then you just turn it on the side and you see this beautiful platinum hallmark, which these almost always disappear through polishing, through age. It actually comes from the same Italian collection, where we'll cover a few other pieces that came out of there. It's been in the same family for over 30 years now. And as we said, I looked everywhere and just could not find a single other one case in platinum.
If you guys recall, if you watched my video a couple weeks ago reviewing and recapping the Hong Kong Sotheby's auctions, I made the case that if you're going to be bidding on an auction, you don't bid on your basic Rolex Daytonas that you could get, from 50 different dealers online. You bid on stuff like that, the stuff that you just cannot find anywhere else. And all the other watches we've already spoke about and will be speaking about, these are the special stuff that you really want to chase at auction, because when that watch sells, hopefully it sells to me, but whoever it sells to, that's the last opportunity you're going to get to buy one of those. I've never seen it before. When I was going through the catalog, it just stuck out at me. And those are the kind of watches you really want to pursue in auction, this really special stuff that you really don't see anywhere else.
Okay, so I'm going to write down my guess.
Yeah. I'm pretty bullish on this one. What do you got?
110,000.
I wrote 150,000. Wow. So I told you I'm pretty bullish on it. And the estimate is $22,600 to $33,800. I think it's a case of auctioneers putting in a low estimate to generate interest and generate that feeling of, oh, maybe I could get it.
I think that's also an impossible watch to estimate.
Right,
because,
I was going to say.
Yeah.
The only one in yellow gold that I think have sold was like 25,000 or something.
How long ago?
Again, it was probably like in 2004.
That doesn't count. 20 years ago does not count.
So like, you don't. How do you estimate that watch?
Sure.
And it's a smaller watch, so maybe you have to be a little bit more cautious and so on and so forth. But it's also an exciting estimate because you're like, I'm in the game.
Yeah, exactly. Like, that sounds reasonable, you know? So, anyways, while I try this on, walk us to the next lot. Let's move on. I don't know the lot
So
number.
it's lot number 134. This is personally my absolute favorite watch from this auction. It is the nicest example of a Patek Philippe 1463, which is a waterproof, so screw back chronograph, and with a two-tone dial, double-signed Eberhard. I've never seen an Eberhard double-signed 1463 before, and I've also never seen such a pristine example. The two-tone dial, it's something I wish all of you could see in person. It just kind of like tells you how maybe like my vision was of other dials, because this is like a benchmark kind of dial for me. And I think the case as well, like the pushers look like they've never even been used.
1463 has always been a special reference for me
Yes.
because of the Tastitani pushers, because of the screwback case, waterproof case, large size chronograph, especially for Patek.
And it's a Bourgail-made case.
It's such an iconic watch.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So even recently, Furlan Murray launched their brand around this case design. It's something that like collectors around the world, and no matter what budget now, really appreciate and hold, true to their
for me,
like,
this
hold
is
dear.
the holy grail reference Patek chronograph.
Agreed.
There is no better. There's no comparison. The condition
size,
looks
the-
absolutely
I think
stunning.
you can
proportions,
probably
the-
say it's probably your favorite lot of all the auctions of the season.
Have you seen all the previews yet? Just say yes. Just say yes.
Yes,
Move
yes,
on.
No,
All right.
but I mean,
50th anniversary, people. Go Antiquorum.
That said, it's I've seen a lot of 1463s in my life, and when you go and visit the clients, and they show up. Of course, they also had the World Time. They're also part of the same collection.
Oh, wow.
And they showed
Special
it out,
collector.
and I looked at it, and it just calls out to you as the best you've ever seen. I mean, the case, the sharpness on the bezel, which very often you see on the bezels, they've been a little over polished, so you don't have that step down here that's really crisp. The case back, even if you look at the details around the screw down case back, everything is really crisp and neat. The dial is absolutely perfect. I mean, for me, it's the best. If you want to buy one 1463, you don't have one in your collection, you want to go all out, that's the one.
What do you got?
What's the estimate?
100 to 150.
So that's $114,000 to $170,000.
Right.
My guess is $280,000.
$350,000. I mean, it's the best. It's rose,
You're right.
double sign.
No,
I'm
It's
kind of
yellow.
wishing. I'm kind of
It's
wishing
yellow?
for the.
Look,
It
it's
looks
yellow.
rose.
I know the catalog, but
Old
you
gold,
can see
old
it's
gold.
yellow.
I'll stick with my.
Okay.
I'll stick with my.
I put a lower estimate than what I thought it's going to do, just out of like childish hope that I maybe have like a chance to like maybe mortgage one of my kidneys.
Aren't your kidneys in bad shape though?
Yeah,
You
it
drink
is.
a lot, so
That's
I don't
the
know
liver.
how
That's
much.
the liver.
Yeah, say whatever. I'm not a doctor. I still have this on my wrist. I love this watch. I will absolutely be bidding on it. Okay, moving along. Before Sasha has a hemorrhage over this 1463, what is our next lot? We are now 4 lots in.
163, I believe,
Yeah.
is the Urban Jürgensen.
So I picked this out because I commented on a recent video while reviewing the Sotheby's Hong Kong sale about Urban Jürgensen and about the brand now being bought by Kari Voutilainen.
Yes.
Oh, I got it right. I got the
Nice.
pronunciation right.
Yeah.
And him and his daughter revitalizing the brand, agreeing to service their watches from 1985 to 2000, which was kind of like the golden era of their wristwatches, so to speak. I called them what I consider vintage independent watches. So you have, in my mind, early FP Jour and brass movement stuff. You have some other stuff, from maybe MB&F or Urwerk that are early watches, but you don't really have any vintage independent watches because they're not old enough yet. For me, this kind of fits the mold, and I think there is a lot of value in these watches, whereas they've been collectible for a long time, but really kind of no one spoke about them. It had like a fan base, and that was that. And you've really seen prices creep up on these in the past couple years, and I think there's exciting things in the works with Voutilanen buying the brand, maybe relaunching some new watches. This watch comes from that golden era of their wristwatches. It's reference to Perpetual Calendar, yellow gold. It has original fitted box. Okay, I don't even know what that looks like, but prices have been on the up and up. Oh, there it is right there. Nice wooden box. I know you're a fan of the brand. I
Yes.
know a lot of our other friends are fans of the brand. I know people who are
Mega
buying
fans,
into
yes.
it. Yeah, it's a watch that's estimated at $40,000 to $51,000. I think it's a brand that people need to pay more attention to. I think the watches are absolutely fantastic, really finished well. The dials are gorgeous, and I think
Amazing.
it's got an exciting future if you're into these kind of quirky niche watches. So I'm going to, what was the lot number? Let's write this down. What do you got for us?
I had written 65, but I then upped it to $70,000.
$65,000.
There we go.
Okay, well, closest without going over.
But
so.
you can see from the video that I removed my hands and did not change anything
Right.
since you wrote yours.
So, yeah, it will be interesting to see how this does and how interest continues to grow on these, if it continues to grow. I think it will, but we shall find out. What is our next lot number? We have 5 more to go.
172.
Another lot that I picked out, because I've talked about these a lot in the past, and I think if you've watched the videos and you paid attention to the market is super down on these watches right now. We are talking about an Audemars Piguet Royal Oak Perpetual Calendar, this one in solid gold with a skeleton dial, reference 25829BA for yellow gold. These watches during COVID were all the rage. They're very low production. This one is from the 90s with leap year, with a later font style. But even the earlier references in the 80s, all of them are kind of at a low point right now compared to where they were a couple years ago. What I really love about these watches is, for me, the Royal Oak is the quintessential Genta design, more so than the Nautilus. Sorry if I offend anybody. But you get so much value for the watch. It's a jumbo size case, this one yellow gold, Perpetual Calendar, skeleton, all like the benchmarks, And this is a watch that at peak pricing during COVID was probably $250,000.
300,000 even?
Yeah, depending on if it was box papers, etc. Now you guys have the estimate at 114 to 226, so presumably somebody could buy it in the mid 100s at the very least. I think these are primed to come back. This one looks to be an excellent condition. So while the market's down right now, I think it's a great time for people to buy who probably couldn't pick one up at their peak because the prices just went crazy.
Correct.
So it's certainly a watch that I'll be interested to see the result. I'm going to write down what lot number was this? 172.
Ooh, so close.
What do you got?
$150,000.
Oh, you're lower. I got 160. So if we go without going over, you're going to win this one. But we're close. So yeah, I think it's a watch that, listen, at their peak, like we talked about, it was $250, $300K. Skeleton dial, Perpetual, Royal Oak,
Open case back.
I think these are watches that, while they might be down right now, in the long term, could be a very good buy and just a fantastic watch. Forgetting the financials of it, just a fantastic
also something
watch.
the brand really doesn't offer today. If you want a skeleton Perpetual, it's going to be 3 millimeters bigger, and it's going to be ceramic, and it's not that look.
Yeah.
And so, if that's the watch that you want, you can't still get that today. And I love that. This is absolutely one of my favorite configurations of a Royal Oak. Period.
Same. Okay, we have 4 left to go. What is our next lot, kind sir?
546.
Okay. I think this is another lot that I picked out. Reference 3945G for white gold. Patek Philippe Perpetual Calendar. I really love this watch. I really love it. When you compare them to 3940s, which were introduced at the same time, 1985 or so, and they made them for 20 years. But why do I love this watch? Because I think they're a relative bargain because you get an integrated bracelet, but a lot of people don't like that, so they tend to go cheaper
Yes.
than their 3940 counterparts.
So what's interesting is that, as the 3940 have kept on climbing in terms of value in the last, let's say, 4 or 5 years, they're always at the low and they didn't really, come up. You could get most 3940s for like between 20 and 40K. That was really the price. Now, the platinums and all the rest have been pushing up. Now a nice yellow one is probably worth close to the 40K. And these have always kind of lagged behind a little bit because of the integrated bracelet, but also because of the fact that they made so much less.
Right.
I mean, if you look probably production-wise, the ones with bracelet, they probably did what? Maybe 10% of the production, if that. If that. So, you get a fantastic perpetual calendar with a cool bracelet, changes completely the look of the watch. And then in the end, it's like, the estimate's like 28 to 50K
which is
in US dollars,
crazy.
which is, it's a white gold version. It comes with nothing. It's watch only, but still, I mean, you get a lot.
Okay, but a 3940G second or third series, let's say watch only, is going to run you around $60,000.
Yeah.
So at the very least, if you're bidding on this at less than half of that, I mean, well, plus the buyer's premium, maybe a little bit more, but
Correct.
but close. I think it's a bargain. Always make sure the band is long enough on these so that if you have to get
This
it
has
cut,
been extended already, so
yeah,
it's
and
very big.
So that's great. And I think integrated bracelet watches, now that people are more willing to like step outside their comfort zone, are coming back in fashion. You have guys like Jay-Z wearing them all the time, and
Yes.
other celebrities who are getting into them because
Well,
people
even
want something
the-
different.
Even the 3970 has the integrated bracelet version, so the chronograph perpetual calendar, and those were kind of like almost unsellable for like over a decade. Like nobody wanted those.
Yep.
While the 3970 was also going through a dip, this was like even worse.
Right.
And now it's kind of like the grail of like, oh my God, like if you can find them, I'm looking to like, I want to do the whole set.
Yeah.
And like can't find the pink gold one. I've only seen like yellow gold, white gold, and platinum or whatever it may be. So I had this whole discussion recently with like a big Patek collector, and I'm like, I can't believe like somebody's actually talking to me about like integrated bracelet watches right now.
Yeah, I had a 3970 yellow gold 3 years ago. I couldn't sell it.
Yeah.
Now
really,
I wish I had that watch again,
For
for
sure.
the same price that I had it for 3 years ago. And 3940, and you bring up 3970, I've always preached have been like such great watches because of what they are, but also because the values have never exploded. They've never gone and jumped 50, 100%. They've always been slow incremental increases with a steady fan base over time. They're very stable. They're very well appreciated, in my opinion, undervalued, but you could get into them and not have to worry so much about the market totally collapsing on them while having a staple of a Patek Philippe watch.
Yeah, but also you can't. It's something that you like. You're so far below what the retail prices are today.
Right.
Like Patek Philippe just re-released a jumbo ellipse on an integrated gold bracelet, and the retail price is 60,000 francs. So, which is around $66,000.
I saw the watch, but I never looked into the price. Wow.
$66,000.
I'd rather have that for less.
Yeah. So, what I'm saying is that the current price offering of a lot of brands, you look at like this. This is not vintage; it's a kind of neo-vintage, or
Neo-vintage,
like
yeah.
modern collectible, you might say, or whatever. But it is like incredible value for what you're getting at a store today,
Right.
And rare. It has like a history behind it,
And it's interesting.
So,
you
yeah.
get to wear something that not everybody's going to have. It's a conversation piece. It's, like I said, a Patek staple, perpetual calendar, what they do best, Okay.
We're ready for the two big. Oh, our guesses.
Our guess. Write your number down.
Okay,
What do you got?
$38,000.
Oh, wow. I put 50,000. I'm a little more bullish on these. I think people are going to wake up and realize that they're getting so much more value out of that watch. We'll see.
We'll see.
We'll find out. The next lot we have looks to be a pocket watch. Lot 591.
Well, actually,
Oh,
we're going to
no,
cover
wait.
the 590 first, as we're doing it in order. I mean, needs no introductions to the people that collect Patek Philippe intensely. For those that don't, probably one of the most important Patek Philippes in the history. It's the reference 2523 World Time. Comes with 2 crowns. They made this in 2 series, 2523 and then the later 2523-1, which has a slightly different case. This was consigned, as I said, by the same family who gave us the 1463 and actually also the platinum Patek 439 that we spoke about before. This is a super significant watch. First of all, there's only about the numbers actually vary, but they think the 2523 they made between 27-30 pieces over the production, so it means super small. I mean, we're talking about, if you think about it, it's like less than 10% of the total production of 2499s,
Right.
which is completely insane. The world time system was invented by Louis Cotier, who patented all the system for this 2-crown rotating world cities around the time. This one is fresh to the market, so that in itself is exceptional. There's nothing much to say. I mean, it's a fully original watch. You know, it has the guilloché gold center. A few different variations exist. One is a plain silver dial. The other one has enamel. This one is the guilloché, and it's got this beautiful patinated outer ring that matches really well, actually, with the color of the center of the dial, the color of the gold. I mean, you know, it's one of those holy grails, really, in terms of.
I've mostly seen the 2523. The ones that I've seen are usually not the dash one or whatever. The 2523. I've never actually seen one in person with a guilloché dial. Extremely rare.
When I picked up this watch, the only thing that came through my head is that song, If I Was a Rich Man, la da 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 da. I mean, this watch is, I think this is the only time I'm ever going to be able to hold one. Most likely. Maybe not, hope not, but this is absolutely insane. Like you said with guilloché dial.
The last guilloché dial we sold actually 12 years ago at Antiquorum came from a French client who also had found it, believe it or not, in a French flea market, like an absolutely insane story. The crystal was
They're still out there, people.
Yeah, the crystal was completely
Keep an eye on your flea market.
So you 12 years ago.
So you couldn't actually see what was under it. He bought it for really cheap, like basically weight of gold, then brought it to us. That was the last time I saw a fresh guilloché on the market. This is the next one that came up. Has been in the same family for over 30 years. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, it's like you have to put it on your wrist to really understand how beautiful that watch is.
Well, the Patek World Time is iconic, and this is the genesis of it. This is the original, you know, and they still have to this day the 5131s and all that stuff that are trying to be what this watch is. What do you guys have the estimate at on this?
1 to 2 million.
Write it down.
I already wrote my number down.
Okay, excuse me. Excuse me. What do you got?
Oh my God, we're so 2.2.
2.25.
Man, you guys are close, huh?
All right. Well, I guess this challenge won't be as exciting as we thought it would be. But by the time this video comes out, we will have the tally, and we will know the winner.
I will give you an impossible one.
By the way, just for conversation's sake, and by the time that you'll see this video, it'll all be over.
Right.
But I will be a little bit less bullish than you guys, and I will probably go like somewhere like 1.5, 1.7 hammer.
No one asked
That's
you,
what I'm
Julian.
saying. Okay, nobody asked me. That's fair. Nobody cares. I know nothing. So we will see. But I appreciate the offers. Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
I'm also bullish on this watch because, like you were just describing, like it's an impossible watch you'll never see again. The reference always sells very strong. You know, the original Patek World Times always sell very strong in auction, and this is an exceptional one with great provenance, fresh to market. I think hopefully for your sake you'll be surprised and it'll do well, and I hope for the consignor as well.
Well, if you want one, this is not one of those moments where you hesitate because there's not one coming up.
Right.
Like, anytime soon.
But you just don't know when the next
with this reference in this configuration.
Right.
There are other ones like 2523-1. There's one actually in this auction season. These are rare watches that you just can't really be like, oh, this is not the right. There's never a wrong time to buy such an exceptionally rare watch.
Right.
Is what it comes down to.
And also most of those that have been offered at auction, and even in the last 10 years, we've all seen. They've already come through. Right. They've already been offered, resold, of course, with the values going up. But to really find one that's never been on the market is.
And I think that's why both of us are bullish on it, just because it's an opportunity for a super important watch to a very super important collector, to put in their collection. And I think once that opportunity passes, hopefully the buyer will recognize that you might not get another chance. What do we have left, gentlemen? I think just one.
So this is the next lot over?
Yep, last lot of the sale.
Also an extremely important world time pocket watch.
This guess is going to be out of left field for me, but tell us more.
This is why it's going to be more fun.
This will be the fun one.
Yeah.
This is one of the only ones known in pink gold. It's a reference 605.
Yep.
Yes. I've personally never seen one with the turquoise, green, and orange layout.
Nobody has ever seen one.
Okay.
That's the bottom line.
So none of us have seen one.
Right.
And just like insanely well preserved.
I mean, this combines a lot of things. I mean, first it has, these super, super early hands. It's the earliest one that's known with a cloisonné enamel in pink gold. It's the only one with the world map with this orange and blue configuration. Interestingly enough, we've known this watch for 10 years that we've been pursuing it. The owners obviously were in no need to sell. The consignment of the 2523 actually pushed them out, and we said, listen, this is the 50th, it's time to bring it out.
Yeah.
Finally, they said, okay.
They pair well together.
They pair fantastically well together. It's really a museum piece, and it's one where never seen before, fresh to the market once again, and those colors are just so striking. It's this blue and orange. I almost cannot find any words. It's such an important watch.
After a 10-year hunt, that's like a huge
but these were literal pieces of art that these dial makers, you had an artist literally painting these by hand, and the enameling process, like the whole thing, everything that goes into making these cloisonné dials is fascinating. I suggest you guys read up a little bit about them.
So
it's incredible. It's the craftsmanship is
insane. Now that
insane.
I think about it, cloisonné enamel is essentially a gold, like let's say a string that separates the different colors of the enamel, so they're fired separately. So you basically would paint one color and then put it in the kiln. And then, so on, there's like a divider made of gold. And it's one of the most complicated enameling techniques there is, and one of the most prestigious, and something that you find very rarely today, because the amount of people that can still do this at this level is very, very small. It's like one of the rare handcrafts that have not been, it's something that you learn through apprenticeship.
Yep.
So basically it's passed from one artisan to the next. And we will be speaking about another miniature painter soon,
right?
For a lot that Julien picked out. I am not a pocket watch person, but
Same.
This just as an object is like stunning.
Right.
And when you talk about like any Patek Philippe, when you talk about the enameling of the cities around and like the condition, it's just like incredibly crisp. Like if this was a wristwatch, I would probably just like fall over and be like. But like
sell everything, sell both kidneys and livers and everything.
Organ donor.
So what is the estimate?
It's basically 1 to 2 million, basically.
1 to 2 million.
Yeah.
Yes. You ready to throw out a wild guess?
Sure. I don't know.
It's difficult. I mean, not to sway you guys, but I was having a conversation with a collector last week in Hong Kong, and basically, we disagreed in the sense that he felt that the wristwatch would bring more than the pocket watch, and I kind of had a tendency to say I think the pocket watch will bring more than the wristwatch.
What do you got?
So
you wrote yours down also?
I did.
2.5 million.
I wrote 1.8. I don't know. I'm taking a shot in the dark. But I think
any
obviously
guess is a good guess.
Wristwatch is more approachable. I mean, obviously it's a very important pocket watch, but the collector base for those is a lot smaller. I don't know. I'm just taking a shot in the dark.
Yeah.
So we shall find out. You have 2.5. Hit us with our last lot.
I agree, but you know why I went so much more bullish on this?
Because Julian's hyping it up.
No. It's honestly because Patek Philippe Museum
has one of those?
Wouldn't bid on this,
and they might bid on that. Oh, smart! See, now you're playing chess, not checkers. I get it. All right, what do we have for our last lot?
Just the last lot. We wanted just to cover it because it was interesting to compare the techniques between the initial world time that we know, and then the work by one of the most famous enamel person ever, Suzanne Rohr. Every Patek collector knows her name. She worked for Patek Philippe for over 30 years. She did nothing but these enamel scenes. Basically, what's interesting is that every single scene that she did was a unique scene. She worked for 30 years. We estimate that she probably did 2 to 3 pieces a year. That just tells you the level of craftsmanship, often inspired by vintage paintings. It could be, you have some by Rembrandt, you have some by Vermeer, you have some here, it's La Calèche, which was done after the French painter Horace Vernet. And if you look at the level of details, she just basically imitates the original painting to the exact such detail, and the colors and the firing and her technique has never been seen again. And that's why the Patek collectors love them, because they really consider it to be the most beautiful artworks. And Patek Philippe, they have kept actually about 25 pieces for themselves that she made that they never sold. So it means that in total only 75 pieces were available and ever made to the market. making this. If you're like a Patek collector and you want one pocket watch from the best enameler ever, it's Suzanne Rohr.
But so they own 25 of them.
They own 25.
Okay, so they probably won't bid on this one. Maybe. I'm just thinking ahead for my guess.
Usually they don't, it's not the kind of thing because they already have 25.
Sure.
You know, so
today a name that's more familiar is Anita Porchet,
right,
which is doing these enamel miniature paintings. If I'm not mistaken, I believe that she was the apprentice of Suzanne Rohr.
That's correct.
So this particular painting, it's signed in the corner, Suzanne Rohr, 1976. Something that you're kind of like, it is a work of art and it's signed by the artist on top of being
a Patek pocket watch.
A Patek pocket watch.
Right.
So something that's not lost today. I mean, Patek still is making miniature paintings and they just had a rare handcraft exhibition. Mm-hmm. It is something that they're very, very happy to keep alive and that they promote every year. I think that, like, you know, you're owning kind of a piece of, this is like a museum piece, essentially.
It's a little piece of art. You know?
And so when we're looking at the prices, because he's going to tell us the estimate in a second, if this is a pocket watch, you're like, well, it seems like a lot for a pocket watch. When we're talking about a painting, albeit a miniature painting in enamel, it's not so crazy as an art piece.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
And the estimate is?
Estimate is?
220 to 420.
Okay.
I already wrote mine down.
What do you got?
600,000.
Oh, wow. Well, hopefully it goes for less because we're doing close to that going over. I put 350.
Okay.
Right in the middle of the estimate. I have no clue, so I just put right in the middle of the estimate. You have 600,000.
Okay, how about this? Now that we brought this down, what did the last one sell for?
The last one sold for like 600 and change. Okay, but you also have to remember that
but maybe it sells for 550 and I still win.
It's a very peculiar market. People will bid different amounts depending on the theme.
Okay,
whether the theme is more commercial than not. So if you have a painting that's by Rembrandt, probably the pocket watch inspired by that painting will sell for more than if it's for Horace Vernet, who's, yes, a known French painter, but not as known.
Okay, I understand.
Nowhere close. So that makes a difference.
So this is inspired by Horace Vernet, and since we don't know who Horace Vernet is, then we're not going to be like, oh my God, I want this.
Right.
Well, I wish you the best of luck. I wish you the best of
Thanks.
luck in your sale. I'll be back tomorrow to actually preview some watches that I might try to bid on. They're not going to be Cloisonné pocket watches, sadly. I don't think I have the budget for that. You guys put together a fantastic sale, and congrats on your 50th.
Thanks, man.
Everybody, thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys on the next video and part of our Geneva journey.